State Representative Jack Ladyman, what were your thoughts on the midterm elections in the state as well as, nationally? What were your thoughts on that?
Well, I like the way it turned out. I think at the state level, we basically have the same numbers in the legislature. Mm-hmm. We have the same people in place in leadership in the state. And we've made a lot of improvements, Paul, in the state. We all have things that we need to work on, things that are going wrong, some of the stuff that's going on in Little Rock that we have to pay attention to. But we need to talk more about what we've done, what we've accomplished. And we've accomplished a lot, even though we've had disagreements in the state, at the state level. But I was happy with the turnout. I think we will continue to improve. We'll continue to debate and disagree on things, but I think we'll continue to improve.
Yeah. What about nationally, though? How do you see that? The country's pretty divided. Democrats taking the House, but then you got those big pickups in the Senate. What are your thoughts nationally on everything?
Well, I think the progress may slow a little bit there, but a lot of the things that have been accomplished nationally have been accomplished in the executive branch, because even with control of the House and the Senate, some of the key legislation that was put forth did not pass. So I don't know how that will slow down. It will slow down some, but I think we'll continue to make progress. You talked earlier. I was listening to you about the border.
Yeah,
and that's a key thing. I mean, that affects a lot of things. I've worked in South Texas for the last 4 years, and it's a dangerous place.
Really?
On a wind farm right by Brownsville, I was there. We were building a new wind farm, just started. We had confrontation with some of those folks coming in.
Oh, wow.
Had to have the Border Patrol come in and train our guys on how to react to that. And you're right, it's very dangerous. And people that are not there, I don't want to get off in the weeds on this, but I came back, and my boss, who's up in Iowa, I was talking with him about that, and his first response was, well, it's probably not that bad. Well, it is. I mean, it can be.
Yeah.
And you have to react. Basically what you do is you throw a bottle of water to these folks if you see them, and you leave, because you don't know what kind of person that is.
Wow.
And your statement earlier about, we can't tell by looking at these folks. Mm-hmm. We don't know. But we do need security on that border. I can tell you firsthand.
I mean, as an American, Jack, is it not kind of demoralizing that we're the greatest country on the planet, but, we can't even secure our own border? I mean, and you're conducting business down there,
right,
and you're not safe. We're having to take these precautions. I'm just like, what's going on?
Yeah, Paul, you're right. I mean, we've got to secure our border. Anybody, well, I can't say anybody, but, if you look at it realistically, if you have no borders, you have no country. I mean, President Trump is exactly right about that.
Yeah.
So we have to secure that border, and there's really no way. I mean, it's thousands of miles. Mm-hmm. It goes all the way to California, and I've worked in all those areas. And there are certain areas along the border where there's no cities. It's wide open, and people can just come across there. There's no police force, anything like that. So in those areas, we have to have a wall. That's the only thing that you can have there. And we have to secure a border. We, like you said, we are the greatest country on earth, maybe ever. We're the longest lasting democratic form of government in history. And, people need to understand what we have, and we need to protect that, and that means protecting our borders. But
it means controlling, who comes and who goes.
Exactly.
That's all we're saying.
Right. Rule of law.
And right now, we don't have control of that.
Right. And we have laws, but they're not being enforced.
Yeah.
And that needs to be done. But, young people, I've been around some ASU students lately, and, you hear a lot of negative things and, campus and riots and that sort of thing. But, these young people still have dreams, just like I did when I was that age. And they, one young man was telling me what he's thinking about. He's a student at ASU, and he's a hard worker. And he said, I'm going to work. I'm going to get my degree. I'm going to work, make some money, put that together. I want to see the world and then come back home and have a family. So, that's young people they still feel that way, even though you see a lot of things in the news.
Yeah.
And
some other campuses where, somebody comes, they disagree with, so they burn the campus down.
They destroy
There's still
things.
people that don't agree with that.
Right.
philosophy.
They still believe in the American way. They still do. There's a lot of people that do. They just don't get coverage,
Yeah.
But I know I'm getting off the subject, but the Veterans Parade, I've been in that every year since I've been in the House, and I was in it this year. And I was so impressed with the West Side ROTC in that parade this time. The young men and women, the way they acted, the professionalism, and it was just uplifting to see that.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's still there. People still believe in that.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. I think I definitely think it's still there. You're right. We do tend to focus on, the people that don't believe that. But yeah,
Right.
it is encouraging to know that there are. I mean, that's why President Trump is in the White House right now, is because people said no. I mean, we were at a crossroads, and we said absolutely not. We're not going any further.
Paul, and people don't hear a lot of those things because we're so focused on the division and second law of thermodynamics. There's only so much energy. You can't change it or create it. You cannot create it. You can change it. So if we're putting so much into negative energy, then we can't focus on positives. As an example, you probably know this, but it's not in the news that much. When I ran for office, you may remember one of my goals was to get us out of the bottom 10 into the top 10 in any category that I can. And I feel I was a part of this, but it was something that we did as a state. Paul, we used to be in the mid-40s in income growth. Last quarter, we were 6th in the country.
Wow.
Arkansas was number 6. Did you hear that in the news?
I didn't hear that at all. No.
It was in the news a little bit. But I say this every time I go somewhere because most people don't know it. We went from 45th to 6th in income growth.
And over what period of time?
That was a quarter.
Okay.
That was third quarter last year.
Oh, okay.
That's only a quarter, right? Okay, per capita income, we're still down there. But, hey, if we're growing the 6th fastest income in the country, we're going to be climbing out of those 40s.
Yeah.
We may already be out of that. I don't know. But that's a very positive thing.
Yeah.
And it's not, you hear more about riots and burning stuff than you do about that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's a very good point there. We're talking with State Representative Jack Ladyman. Your district, tell us your district again.
District 59.
59, and where is that?
That's basically northwest Craighead County, including West Jonesboro, Bono, Cache, Egypt.
Okay. All right, so the session is coming up. We got a lot of people talking about the gas tax and other things. What are your thoughts on this upcoming session?
Yeah, I'd like to talk about the tax. I mean, this session, I think, is not going to be as contentious maybe as the last session. I think we'll get more agreement on a lot of things. But taxes is probably going to be number one. There's some things that we have to address. And I have not voted, since I've been in the House, I've not voted for a tax increase. I even voted against the veterans, their reduction in income tax because we had a clean bill that had no tax increases in it sitting on the table that Bob Ballinger and I had worked on.
Yeah.
And it was Bob's bill, and I was a co-sponsor on it, but we could have brought that bill forward without the tax increases.
Yeah.
So I'm not for tax increases. But I did not sign a document that said I wouldn't vote for one because I've been a mayor, and I know there are times when you may have to do that. The road program is going to be one of the critical issues in this session. We do have to address roads. I'm on the National Council of State Legislative Committee with other state legislators for infrastructure and energy. Without roads, without good transportation, we can't bring industry here. People will not come here. You have to have two things. You have to have low energy cost. You have to have transportation systems. We have got to have that if we want to continue to grow our manufacturing, our industrial base, which we need to. And we are growing that. And I think it'll grow more in the coming years. But infrastructure, highways, is very, very important for that.
Yeah.
And we know that we have roads that need to be repaired. We need new roads. One of the things that I talk to people about every time I get a chance is extending the 4-lane from Walnut Ridge to Poplar Bluff, Missouri. So we get a 4-lane road through here. 412 going east and west. There's money available. They're working on that now. I think
with the 412, there was a resolution passed in the Senate last session. I believe it was State Representative Nella Speaks in the House and Scott Flippo in the Senate, trying to say, hey, listen, we'd like some federal funds to try to connect Fayetteville and Jonesboro.
Yes, and they're from Mountain Home, which needs that road terribly.
Yeah.
Both of those individuals are from Mountain Home. But we need to connect with Fayetteville across the northeast corner to continue to grow our roads.
So obviously there's a need. I mean, and that's the thing with, there's always a need. Right. We can always, try to make things better and everything else. But how do we balance that with the taxpayers who are already, paying money to have this done? We raised the taxes in 2012. You can imagine the taxpayers' fatigue on this.
Right.
We want good roads. I mean, I'll complain about them all day long, and I think everybody will complain about them. But I don't want to pay any more taxes because I think we're already giving the government a whole lot of money. But you talk to some and they're saying, well, we just don't have any money. So are there cuts out there that we would be willing to look at? Let's cut the money from this and spend it on roads. I feel like most Arkansans agree much more, broadly about having good roads maybe than they agree about some of these other programs. So what are your thoughts on that, Jack Lady?
Well, okay, when you look at roads, it's a different animal, really, because it is totally supported by gas tax. Okay, what's happened in the gasoline market or the transportation system? Cars have become more efficient.
Yes.
We have electric cars. A lot of things have happened that reduces the amount of income from a gas tax, right? The other thing is that the gas tax is not tied to inflation. So the cost of building a road has gone up, but the gasoline tax is static. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't go up with inflation or cost of materials or whatever. So that's gotten us behind. So actually the taxpayer, I hate to say this, but we've paid less taxes on roads because we've got more efficient cars. Some people pay no tax because they have electric cars.
Well, if that's the argument, Jack, then if you were to pass a law that increased with inflation, then that would kind of go up every year then, wouldn't it?
It would.
Yeah, and I don't think that would go well with a lot of voters.
Well,
just a thought, but
the tax would go up, but if technology continues and cars become more efficient, more people, that's kind of a balance.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly if it's an equal balance, but you see, your cost is going to go down if you get more efficient. Mm-hmm. So to keep it the same, you have to be with inflation. But that's why it's a complicated issue.
It certainly is. It sounds like it.
But any tax that we pass, my stand on this is everybody should pay equally. So, if I own an electric car, I still need to pay for road maintenance some way. But I wouldn't because it's only gasoline tax.
Yeah. Do we know how many people in Arkansas have electric cars? I mean, I'm assuming it goes up every year.
Not that many, but it is a growing technology. And again, battery technology is improving. More people are buying electric cars. The price of them are coming down. I don't know where that's going to go. But
in the past, they talked about an odometer tax. Let's look at your electric car and that to me would just I was skeptical of that because I thought, okay, well, it's electric cars now, it's going to be everybody at some point, like, okay, how many miles did you drive, and this is how much tax that you owe. I understand it is a complex problem. I agree with you there. I think the creativity I would just say maybe the creativity needs to go towards like cuts. Let's get creative about what we can cut to put money towards roads. Now, I understand there's not a lot of flexibility from some people in leadership to maybe say, let's dip into the general revenue fund, for the funds that we need. What are your thoughts on dipping into general revenue, Jack? And I didn't mean for this whole thing to be about about cars. By the way,
this debate needs to be made. A lot of times it's the way you frame things, okay? You talk about taking money from general revenue. If we decrease the income tax and we increase the gas tax, isn't that taking money out of general and
Yeah, absolutely.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's not taking it out of that fund,
right?
But it's reducing me as a taxpayer. It's reducing my tax burden on the income side but it does increase on the other side. Now, maybe it's equal. Maybe I gain money.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't. But it's very complex because you look at this, again, with companies coming in. If we want to bring companies into Arkansas, our income tax has to be competitive with surrounding states. And that's one of the things that we've tried to do and work on to get it down to where we can be competitive. So it's not taking money from general fund, but in fact, it is, because you're giving people money back out of general fund, and then you're increasing a tax on gasoline.
So do you see the next session kind of being a wash then in terms of I mean, is that now the goal to say, okay, let's lower income taxes, I think, by $111 million, and then let's raise gas tax by, I don't know, $200 million? That would actually be a net tax increase. Right. I mean, I think that's what I'm looking at, is at the end of the day, when y'all are done, are we going to be paying more? Collectively, all the people are now paying more money than we were, and that's what I don't want.
I agree. I don't like increasing a tax here and decreasing one over there. I don't like doing that. I like looking at the problem and solving the problem, and giving as much money as we can afford back to people in tax reductions, whether that's income tax, whatever that is. But if we have a need, we have to address that. We can talk about health care as another example.
Yeah. A lot of money's getting sucked into that program.
Exactly. And we need to help those that can't help themselves. We've got to do that. And we're going to have to do some things with health. That's not going to be the big issue this time. But, there are people that are losing services that really, really need it. And then there are other people that are getting services that maybe they don't need it so bad. Maybe they
compared to the other person.
Exactly. Yeah. So we have to make sure that that's fair. We have to look at that and make that fair and equitable, and help those that we must help. They need our help, and we want to do that.
Yeah. Jack Ladyman, State Representative Jack Ladyman, I appreciate you coming on the program. I'd love to have you on again soon.
Sure.
I'll give you the last word, by the way, because I know we kind of got off onto one issue.
Well, I appreciate you having me on, Paul. I'd love to come back on a regular basis and talk about what's going on in the session.
Yes.
I'm very excited about this session. I think Matthew Shepard's our new speaker. I've been very impressed with him, with what he's done so far.
I've heard that from a lot of people.
And I've worked with Matthew closely, and I'm hoping that I get in some leadership roles, maybe a committee chair, I hope. We'll see what Matthew, it's his decision. But I'm very excited. We've got some people coming. I love serving with the guys from Craighead County here, Dwight, Brant, and Dan, and we've had a major impact on our state. All of us have, and I'm looking forward to that. I think you'll see some good things coming out of this session.
All right, State Representative Jack